Story time about why I decided to leave my ex-husband. Keep in mind, before I left him, I was having all of these really like gut-wrenching feelings in our apartment. I had left town for about a week and a half because I had gotten my gallbladder removed and we were fighting and he told me that he couldn't take care of me and all this stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be with family to process everything and decide what I want to do with my life. And I literally couldn't sit up out of bed on my own, and he said that he was not going to be there to help me. So I was like, okay, I need to go get some help because come on. So the whole time that I was home with family and had left and everything, he completely ignored me. I could not get a hold of him. No matter how many times I tried to call him, text him, like no response. So I was spiraling because I was like, okay, at this point I hadn't asked for a divorce. I hadn't like officially left. I just had left because I just got my gallbladder removed. And I was spiraling. I was like, I can't even get a hold of my husband. Like, this is not okay. This is not healthy. And I start spiraling because I'm having all these gut feelings that like he's bringing a girl to our apartment, like he's cheating on me, like what is happening? I finally got a hold of him one night and he answered my FaceTime call. It was probably like a 5-minute phone call and he probably said like 2 words the entire time. Like he just stared at me. There was nothing in his eyes. He just was looking right through me, like would not say a word. And I was like, can you just talk to me? Can you communicate with me so that we can like figure out what's going on? Like, why are you so upset? Why, like, what is happening? He was really upset that I went home to be with family because he's like, well, I should be taking care of you. And I said, well, I don't understand because you just told me you couldn't take care of me. So I decided to go home. I was like, dude, like, what do you want from me here? When I finally realized that he was not going to talk to me, was not going to communicate with me, I just said, okay, I love you. And he just stared at me. Guys, I kid you not, he just stared at me. I'm not even exaggerating. And so I said it again. I was like, I love you. And he just stared at me. And I was like, why can't you say I love you? And he ended up just hanging up the phone. He never said I love you. So I texted him and I was like, why can't you say I love you to me anymore? Like, why is that so hard for you? And he said, I'm trying to love you, but it's just so hard. When I tell you my heart shattered into a million pieces, no woman wants to hear that, especially from their husband. And so at that point, I just basically cried myself to sleep because I'm like, okay, I can't get my husband to talk to me whatsoever, so we can't work through this, we can't communicate. He just said that it's hard to love me. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? I had just gotten my gallbladder removed. My health was at the worst place possible. I literally, at this point, through all of the abuse within the relationship and stuff, I had just literally lost myself, felt like a literal shell of myself, and I just was so lost. But at this point, I still didn't know if I was gonna get divorced. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I honestly think that he wanted an out, but he didn't know how to do it, which he did tell me that one time before. He said that if we ever get divorced, you're gonna have to be the one who leaves me because I don't have the guts to do it myself. Excuse me, sir? Who the hell says that? What? And when he said that, it's not even like we were talking about divorce. He just randomly was like, yeah, if we ever get divorced, you're gonna have to be the one who leaves me because I'm not gonna have the guts to do it to myself. Sir. So I truly believe at this point he was just trying to make my life so incredibly miserable so that I would leave. There was one night that I literally felt like I was just like praying to God and just kind of like wrestling with God, like, tell me what to do, like I don't know what to do. And I remember just feeling a ton of peace. But just feeling like I needed to stay home with family a little bit longer. And I knew that if I told him that, he was going to be super upset because he was already pissed that I was even home with family. Like, he was so upset about it, which I think was the main reason why he decided to give me the silent treatment and not talk to me. But like, come on, grow up. I told him the next day that I was staying longer. No response. Like, he was upset at this point. I was just like, whatever. But then the next day I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go home because, you know, I just felt like I need to go work on our relationship. Like, I need to figure this out, figure out what I'm gonna do. So I go back to where we were living. Keep in mind, the whole time that I was home with family, I hadn't had like a panic attack at all. I go back and get in the car with him, and immediately my body starts freaking out. Like, I feel like my throat is closing. I start like full on just panicking, like panic mode. When I got in the car, he was not even happy to see me, which no one knew that he was like this behind closed doors, because as soon as we would get around people, he'd put on this face and be his bubbly, happy self. But then as soon as we were behind closed doors and in private, like, he would just shut down and just like be so pissed at me and couldn't get a response out of him. And so it's like no one knew this was happening, but it was so manipulative. So at this point, I'm back in his presence. I'm having a full-blown panic attack. Like, my body's literally responding. My body was quite literally rejecting him. I remember after that panic attack, I was like, I just had this feeling like that's my answer. I can't do this anymore. And I just remember being like, no human should have to live like this, in this much stress and misery, and like not even feeling safe around your partner. And I remember walking back into our apartment. Keep in mind, I had been gone, like I said, for like a week and a half at this point. And I go back into our apartment and I just felt sick. Like, I felt like I was gonna vomit in there. I did not want to stay the night there. I felt physically ill. And I just had this gut feeling that someone else had been there when I was gone. And you guys, like, I can't even describe the feeling. I just felt so ill. My mom was there and I told her, I was like, I think I need to get a divorce. I'm just like sobbing. And she was like, because she didn't know anything that was happening behind the scenes. My mom and my ex-husband did not get along, though. They did not like each other. That was very clear. But my mom was in shock, and she's like, okay, let's call your dad. So I call my dad sobbing, tell him what's going on, and he basically said, like, we'll support you in whatever you choose to do. But he said, and this will always stick with me, he's like, the Lord does not expect you to be miserable. Which gave me peace too, and just knowing like, this is not how marriage should be. This is not from God. If it was, then it would not be abusive, manipulative. It would not be causing me this much stress and chaos in my life. So at that point, that was kind of the boost and the reassurance that I needed from my family. They weren't saying, yes, get a divorce, but they basically just said, we'll support you in whatever you decide to do. I stayed in a hotel that night with my mom because I could not step foot in our apartment. It made me ill. And then the next morning, I packed up my stuff and I left. Let me know if you guys want a part 2, because there's so many details that I can't even include. Okay guys, like, I have the craziest friendship experience story time that I just like have been holding for years, and it just came to my attention that this is like happening to more people from these people. So now I'm just like, okay, it's my time. I'm obviously not going to say names or anything. I'm just going to call them thing 1, thing 2. They're twin sisters. That's pretty much all you need to know to put the pieces together here. But like, have you guys been friends with like people that just like lie about like anything and everything? Well, yeah, like, now take that, times it by 1,000,000. Like, think like pretends they have cancer level. Yeah. And like, I'm not going to talk about like other people's experiences necessarily, but like, let's just say like they've done things like this before. And there's so many red flags, and honestly, I feel like so stupid because I was just trying to see the good in them. Like, they seemed like super nice people when I met them, and I just should have known. Like, anyways, so start off with them like lying about like random stuff. Like, they graduated early, they went to like McGill, and their mom is like the head of cancer care, and this and that, like all these things that are easy enough to fact check and like see that that is not true, obviously. But this is where it really happened and became like personal and actually affected me emotionally. So we booked a trip to Calgary Stampede. We'd only been friends for probably like 2 or 3 months at this point. But we're like, like, they're down for things, I'm down for things, like, let's book this trip. And there's 5 of us going, so it's me, my friend, them 2, and their friend. And like, the hard part about it is because like, unless you experienced it personally, like, you will never understand this truly. But now that I know other people have experienced it like firsthand, it like makes me feel like I can actually share this and not feel like crazy. So pretty much the very first night that we get to Stampede, one of them is in the room with us, one of them is in a different room getting ready, and the one in the room with us just starts crying and saying how she like pretty much is gonna die, and she has lung cancer and is on a lung transplant list, and that she's been in and out of the hospital for the last like month or something without us knowing. And like, first of all, these girls are the biggest attention seekers ever. If there was actually something happening where they had to go to the hospital, they would be telling everybody and anybody about it. So I already know this isn't true. Plus, if you're on a lung transplant list, you are not at Calgary Stampede drinking and partying. Never mind like smoking or like anything like that. So anyways, I'm not believing it. My friend's not believing it. We're kind of like laughing about it because, like, not to be mean or anything, but we're just like, we don't believe you. A little background where how this makes this personal to me. This summer, my grandpa had actually been dying of cancer the entire summer and passed away actually a month after this happened. But yeah, I was watching him die all summer. So like, talking about cancer and like making like a lie about it is just something that's so wrong in so many ways, but it was just especially personal to me. And my other grandpa died when I was younger from lung cancer, and we found out he had lung cancer because he collapsed. And so I kind of bring this up. I'm like,
girl, like, you don't have lung cancer. You're definitely not on the lung transplant list because, like, if you actually did, you wouldn't be here, and, like, you wouldn't be able to party because, like, my grandpa collapsed when he had lung cancer because he couldn't breathe, this, and that. So keep in mind that I did share this story with them. So I couldn't be around them anymore, so I let, like, thing 1 go out alone, and thing 2 stayed with us, and me and my friend were kind of, like, talking to her, like, girl, like, is this for real? Because, like, there's always 2 of them together. We rarely have one of them separate. And she's kind of, like, telling us, like, yeah, she, like, kind of lies a lot, and, like, she is, like, kind of a problem, and she, like, hurts a lot of our friendship. And so her own sister is telling us, like, this girl does lie, like, and I just get dragged into it. And then later that night, we get a call from the friend that went with thing 1, and it was like, guys, you have to come to the staircase right now. There's, like, an emergency. We run into the staircase, and there is thing 1 laid out, passed out, in the stairwell, pretending that she's unconscious. And I asked the friend, like, how much did she have to drink? Because, like, that was, like, where my mind went first, was, like, oh, maybe she drank too much, and this was, like, whatever. But she's like, she didn't really drink much. So I'm like, okay, like, maybe she got roofied or something. So regardless, I was like, we're going to call 911, okay? So I'm like, boop, boop, okay, I'm calling. And then she, like, magically awakens, and it's like, oh, I'm alive. Super dramatic, may I add. And she's like, my lung, like, I need my medicine. And her sister goes and grabs the bronchitis puffer that they had from when they had bronchitis, like, a week earlier, that they were still both having, like, they were both coughing, like, weird, which they were trying to play it off as, like, the lung cancer, but it was because they have bronchitis. Anyways, so then I, like, put all of the pieces together, and I was like, oh my god, she's trying to pretend, like, to pass out to try and make this more believable, that, like, because this is what happened to my grandpa when he found out he had lung cancer. And that's when I was like, these people are evil. Okay, well, safe to say I was not friends with them after that experience, and they kind of apologized after for other things, but not for that specific thing. But yeah, the rest of Stampede was horrible. It was just not good. To this day, it was, like, the biggest waste of my money and time that I've ever had in my life. But whatever. So I got back home, and I wrote out this entire notes thing, which I'm sure I could probably find somewhere still. It had all the receipts of, like, everything, all their lies, everything they've ever said, like, everything. And at the end, because I was like, okay, I honestly think that someone should just tell them these things, because if I was this psychotic and delusional, I would want someone to just tell me. And at the very end, I said, if I hear anything about me come out of your mouths, I will make sure this was, like, spread around. Like, people will hear about this. And the only reason I said that is because every close friend they've ever had in the past, they have spread the craziest, weirdest, like, actually horrible lies about. Like, very controversial, which I'm not going to get into, and, like, that, I respect those people a lot because they really went through it. And obviously all that part of it was taken out if I were to share it with anybody. But whatever, I sent it to them, never heard anything back again. Honestly, never really saw them again. A week later, I hear, oh, actually, we stopped being friends with her because she just got super jealous of us at Stampede because we're getting all the male attention over her. And I just, like, couldn't help but laugh because I was like, you couldn't have thought of anything else, like, anything, like, maybe believable. So after that, I was like, you know what, screw it. And I, like, made a private story with a bunch of, like, my close girlfriends, and I was like, here you go, guys, eat this up. And honestly, it was, like, a PSA to, like, my close friends, like, do not fall for this trap of a friendship because it's not worth it. Well, last weekend, it's been, like, years, and I'm, like, completely over it now. But these 2 people came up, and they're like, hey, so you're friends with the twins, right? And I was like, I haven't heard this in forever. But I was like, yeah, actually, I was. They're like, well, you wouldn't believe what happened to us. And I was like, baby girl, let me believe you. I, like, whatever you say, I already believe you. And almost word for word, what they did to me, they did to them. Including, like, pretending cancer. Like, I don't think they had it this time, but, like, their mom did or something. Just bizarre. Like, crazy. So, needless to say, we're gonna start, like, a little trauma support group over this because, seriously, like, this is nuts. But yeah, if this also happened to you, like, let's all be friends and let's get drinks and talk about this because what the heck. Anyways, peace and love, guys. That's just, like, I can't believe I'm bringing this up after all this time. But, like, I actually just, like, I think it's the funniest thing. They've not learned their lesson at all. So, whatever. Bye.
Story time on how I found out my boyfriend was actually a girl. Okay, so basically, back in like 7th grade, my best friend at the time used to talk to this boy, right? And I was like, and like me and the boy, like she would like add me to the calls and stuff. She would be on the phone with him in school, like so I would talk to the boy, but I never really you know, entered like, you know, like gave him like, you know, like it was her boyfriend. So why am I talking to you? But it was all cool, right? And eventually I ended up moving cities, so me and my best friend, we wasn't as close anymore, and I ended up, you know, just like distancing myself, not even on no like weird shit, but just because like we just didn't see each other as much. I don't know if I should do sections or just sleek it. I think I'm gonna just sleek it. So fast forward, I think this was, what year was this? This was my 8th grade year, and I had got a text randomly on Instagram from this person that was like, oh, Grace, do you remember me? Da da da. I'm like, no, who are you? They was like, oh, Kentrell, you know, I'm like, you remember from Janaya, right? And I was like, oh shit, how you been? How you been? Da, da, da. They was like, oh, I've been good. How you been? Da, da, da. Right, so we started getting cool, and then out of nowhere, he just confessed his feelings. So we started getting cool and stuff after he confessed his little like love for me or whatever. I was like, he was just like, oh, like I always thought you were pretty, like da da da, like, you know, like I just want to start talking to you and blah blah blah. And I was like, sure, but mind you, I don't know what he looked like for real. So we ended up getting on the phone, and we would be on the phone all the time, right? And we would, like, whenever we would be on the phone, like my camera was always on, but whenever his camera was on, he would never like show his face. But I'm not thinking nothing of it, cause like I feel like I could remember seeing his face in 7th grade, but I don't really remember the face. You know what I mean? So like I didn't care. So I remember this one time I was like, oh, can you do a handstand? Da 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 da. Like, and he was like, yeah, I can do a handstand. I was like, do one so I can see. And then this nigga had a whole blanket over him. Like, I'm talking about whole body instead of just like doing it regular. Cause like you know, I was just like, that's odd, but I didn't really think none of it. So after a while, like we were together for like a month and a half, y'all. It was not that long. And then on top of that, it was long distance. So, and I was in 8th grade. Anyway, so then like fast forward like a month later, we ended up breaking up because he cheated. Like I was just like I'm talking about, this nigga had a whole highlight and everything. It just randomly popped up one day. I was like, dude, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. He was like, oh, like she hacked into my account. Like that's not even me. Like da, 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 da. Just making up all the excuses. I was like, I'm not going for that. That's bullshit. Obviously, like nobody's stupid. So we ended up breaking up, right? But before we broke up, he had this ex. I think her name was like Jemiah or something, right? And me and the girl, we wasn't cool, but it like, you know, I didn't like her. I didn't not like her just because like that was his ex, you know. So so she texted me, but before she texted me, she had stole his account, locked him out, changed the password, and made it her own. Girl. So she texted me off his account that she stole and was like, oh, I got something to tell you, right? So she ended up texting me. It was like, oh, you know he's a girl, right? And I was like, huh? So I'm texting her. I'm like, what are you talking about? She was like, yeah, her real name is blah blah blah, and like she's really a girl and blah blah blah. So I'm just letting you know. So I texted her. I was like, you're a girl? And she was like, I was gonna tell you. Like, it was just too much going on, though. Like, I just didn't know when to. And I was like, you had so many opportunities to tell me you're weird as fuck. Da, da, da. Like, when I tell y'all, I cussed her out. Like, because that shit was weird. Like, she would send me pee pics and all. So I was like, that's why I never really, you know, and I never, like, I don't know, y'all, like, nudes. I never enjoyed, like, I never sent nudes because I was just like, how the fuck do y'all do that shit? So after I got done cussing her out, I ended up blocking her and stuff like that, cause I was just like, you know, I'm not trying to like be associated with that. Like that is actually weird. And so then like I feel like, well, I don't know how many years later it was. A few years later, she found me and texted me again. But I look good, bald. So after like she was just, I feel like my music too loud. Anyway. Like, you know, it was like cool and stuff. Like I was just like why would you even lie about all that? She was like, I just don't know. soon, but then like I don't know, like I ended up just dropping it because like I'm older now, like so like we just like like even to this day like we're still like cool. It's no beef or nothing like. And then on top of she's like grown now, so it's nothing like to even she's all the way in Georgia, so I was just like I don't really know where we was at, but we just it was cool and stuff. We cool now. That's it.